Strap on your seatbelt and prepare for takeoff. You're about to go on a journey. It's First Contact Radio with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is Josh Poet. It is First Contact Radio, Wednesday, the 21st, 2019. Lots going on in the world each and every day. This is a battle for good and evil, my friends. Make no mistake about it. Evil influences are in the world. They are affecting weak-minded individuals to do evil things. And we need to be able to stand strong. That's the whole idea of the armor of God. Because weak-minded people go out into the world susceptible to the problems and the issues and the negative influences. And next thing you know, you've got hateful speech coming from one individual after another. And by individuals, I'm talking about liberals. 100%. I've been on the Twitters, I've been at the Facebooks, I've had conversations, and there's just this vile, ugly hatred unlike I've ever seen before that are coming from people who for such a long time have claimed arrogantly that they were peaceful, that they were tolerant, that they were morally superior. And now that it's the opportunity for them to show their tolerance, show their morals, show the good qualities, they're doing anything but that. And the first go-to is to start calling people names, and then it gets into the death threats. I mean, the amount of people that feel emboldened to go on Twitter and start making death threats about those who they disagree with, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. But there's got to be something behind the scenes that's influencing all of this behavior. This isn't just people behaving badly because they behave badly. Something is going on. What is going on? Weak-minded individuals are being adversely affected in negative ways through all of the manipulations of the media. That has been going on. I've given you the lists. We've discussed this for quite some time. The media has been complicit. It's been nearly 100 years now since the media began to be controlled, first with the Council on Foreign Relations, and then as things evolved, the CIA put in Operation Mockingbird, and then we had confirmation of this control in 75 when we had the Church Committee hearings that found at that point there were over 400 CIA persons involved with our mainstream media in order to influence and craft the narrative. Most people don't even realize that they're being lied to, which is part of the problem. We don't have a schooling system that is teaching people to think for themselves. If you were born before the year 2000, I think you have a fighting chance to really understand what was going on because there were topics like this that were available. You could go to bookstores and you could find material coming hot off the press dealing with this. But as time has continued to progress and our social networks have evolved, as the computers evolved, and we have these manipulations from the big agencies out there, we now find that this information is being clamped down and being censored left and right. Conservatives are being censored left and right. Why? Because people are afraid of hearing what has to be said. Yet the same people who are providing all this censorship will point their fingers and say, oh, you're the Nazis. Unaware of the fact that it was the Nazis that were censoring people, that it was the dictatorships that were censoring people, that it was the socialist and communist regimes that were censoring people. Yet the same people are clamoring to have socialism and communism and all of these various methods of censorship and control over the people. It's the blind leading the blind. How could so many people be so blinded and not understand? It's beyond me. I don't understand it all, other than to realize that there is a spiritual battle going on. And people, just like Obi-Wan Kenobi said, the force is strong on the weak-minded. Okay? The influences out there are strong in the weak-minded. So we need to get strong of mind. Strong of mind, that's very important. It's tough these days. It's really tough. But We can do it. We just have to think for ourselves and quit allowing the media and those who are in Hollywood, the supposed stars who are just simply bought and paid for actors, some of them MK Ultra, as Roseanne Barr has been out there talking about, and others have been talking about for years. So we can't listen to these kind of people because they have agendas. Okay? They all have agendas and they're all connected somehow to the Mockingbird network of those who are just colluding to push an agenda. And it's sad because one day those same people may end up waking up and realizing that they created a prison for themselves, a prison that they can't get out of because they really screwed things up for the whole of society. All right, first story here, Obama was in on it. Not that this is anything that you didn't already know. It says Andrew McCarthy counterintelligence investigations are done for the president. Obama knew about the spying on the Trump. There's a video here, and the says in an unprecedented move, Barack Obama spied on the opposition candidate during the 2016 election, and it was all based on the lies that they all knew were lies. On Tuesday night, attorney and author Andrew McCarthy joined Sean Hannity to discuss the ongoing Spygate scandal. During the discussion, Andrew McCarthy, who served as the Assistant United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, told Sean Hannity that Obama did know about spying on Trump. He went on to say, what I'm saying is not that the president sits there and directs that there be counterintelligence investigations. What I'm saying is that unlike criminal investigations, counterintelligence investigations are done for the president. The only reason to do them is for the president with the information he needs to protect the United States from foreign threats. They're not like criminal investigations in that regard. So in principle, the information for the president, and here we know various junctures, we have actual factual information that this investigation was well known to President Obama. Went on to say that if things were working properly, the president should have been alerted about it and informed. It was a very important investigation. If they actually believed what they were telling, that the court, that it was possible that Donald Trump was actually a plant of the Kremlin, it would have been derelict on their part not to keep the president informed. But they didn't want to inform him because they were in on it. It wasn't just Obama. He was the pinnacle of that administration. The buck was supposed to stop with him. So he can't claim ignorance of the situation because he is the guy who is calling the shots. All right, today President Trump signed an executive order canceling student loan debt for disabled veterans. President Trump signed an executive order today that forgives all student loan debt for any permanently disabled U.S. military veterans. The order, which Trump signed following a speech at the American Veterans National Convention in Louisville, Kentucky, also clears those eligible veterans from having to pay any federal income tax on the loans. Trump added that he is pressuring individual states to follow suit. So it says the subject of this was discharging the federal student loan debt of totally and permanently disabled veterans. And there's a long bit of information here about that, but that's great. President Trump said he would take care of the vets. He's working really hard to do that. Veterans who have gone out there, they put their lives on the line, and they should be taken care of for their sacrifice that they gave for this country, especially if that sacrifice involved some sort of loss of limb, loss of abilities. Shouldn't have a situation where veterans are getting treated badly like they have been for such a long period of time by other administrations, by even people in society. It's not right. Not right at all. Here we have a story out of San Diego. Workers install the final panel of border wall project in San Diego. Workers put the last panel on a border wall replacement project Friday. The wall measures 18 feet high, roughly 14 miles long, stretches from near the ocean to Otay Mountain. $147 million construction project was approved in 2017 to replace the old border wall that was built with scrap metal in the 90s. Customs and Border Protection says this project was one of the highest priorities in the overarching border wall project championed by President Donald Trump. So for those who say there's no wall being built, here we had a final panel being put in of a wall that was built. So, what are you going to do? You got people out there who are going to be blind to whatever goes on. They're going to dismiss any ideas that aren't in their own heads, that weren't given to them by the media, and that's why they spit out the things they spit out. I mean, all you have to do is listen to the members of the Democratic Party or just the average liberal. You just need to listen to them talk, and you'll understand the brainwashing. You'll understand that they are simply repeating catchphrases, little sound bites that they were given. And as I said, I believe this brainwashing took place the first week after Donald Trump came down the escalator, because the media spent that week playing gajillion times little sound clips about Donald Trump being racist. And to this day, when you ask somebody about Donald Trump that's a liberal, they will usually spit out at you the phrases that they were told at that time, like clockwork. They can't have any other answers behind that, but they know those key phrases because someone was successful at implanting those words in their mind, and that's all they know. Just like a computer with keywords, their brains were hacked because the weak minds allowed that to take place, and now they are people that are basically broken. Broken people spitting out lies that they were told to spit out, while at the same time believing that they are morally correct. All right, big story that's making the rounds today is the story Trump and his comment. Trump says he's the chosen one to take on Beijing and end its unfair trade practices. While speaking to journalists at the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump said today that his life would be easier if he had not mounted a trade war with China, but he was the chosen one to take on Beijing. The comments echoed remarks that he made the prior day while speaking with reporters after meeting with Romanian President Klaus Iohannis, who was visiting the White House. He said he had to confront Beijing over unfair trade practices because the latter had been cheating Americans for decades. Somebody had to take on China, what they were doing to the United States economically. We're winning big. I took it on, and I should have been done by other presidents, but I took it on, he said. Well, as you could imagine, the lunatic left have taken this phrase, and now they're one of the keywords that's over on Twitter that's trending is Antichrist, because these lunatics of the Democratic Party, the party that has ironically, or not ironically, sadly, made a point to not want to include as part of their platform, suddenly they're going to claim that they understand about these events out there in the world, such as who the Antichrist is. I'm telling you, this lunatic left couldn't understand prophecy if it smacked them upside the head. Okay? They're the last ones to be able to understand. They don't believe in God. So how are they going to be able to understand anything else? How are they going to understand how the whole thing works? They don't. Again, they're just weak-minded individuals spitting out what the media has told them to say. It's that simple. Some of the dumbest things I've seen today was because Trump pointed up at the sky. People are saying he was pointing to a white cloud, indicative of the fact that he's a white supremacist. Well, come on. Really? Okay. Stupid is as stupid does, and there's a lot of stupidity going around, unfortunately. From Jihad Watch, it says Trump administration cuts aid to Islamic Republic of Pakistan by $440 million. The United States has further cut Pakistan's aid by $440 million, bringing down its commitments under Kerry Lugar-Berman Act to just $4.1 billion, which is slightly over half the total amount that Washington had promised to give 9 years ago. Good. Only $4.1 billion more to cut. The sham alliance and the showering of billions on Pakistan for nothing should be ended and should have been ended long ago. Our friend and our ally Pakistan is a more reliable friend to the jihad terrorists it collects our money for fighting than it is to the United States. The money we shower upon Pakistan could be much better spent on initiatives actually to oppose jihad terror rather than enable it. There is evidence that Pakistani government has already been directly involved with jihad attacks. Jihad attacks, those are the Muslim attacks. Muslim attacks, and again, I will repeat this, since 622 AD, Muslim terrorists have been following the example of Muhammad and his followers by going into cities, claiming to be refugees seeking asylum. When they are taken in, after a short period of time, they turn on those that took them in. They've been doing it over and over and over, and clueless Americans in 2019 who don't understand history of Islamic conquest will tell you we got to let them in. They're escaping. They need asylum. For 1,400 years they've been saying that. They've been let in, and then they conquer. They rape. They murder. So we have to learn to disregard those who are unaware of history, because again, they're weak-minded individuals who are just spitting out what the media that is fully compromised has told them to say. It's not real difficult to understand. Now, this brings us up to another story here. This is called the new mind control. The internet has spawned subtle forms of influence that can flip elections and manipulate everything we say, think, and do. Over the past century, more than a few great writers have expressed concern about humanity's future. In The Iron Heel, 1908, the American writer Jack London pictured a world in which a handful of wealthy corporate titans, the oligarchs, kept the masses at bay with a brutal combination of rewards and punishments. Much of humanity lived in virtual slavery, while the fortunate ones were bought off with decent wages that allowed them to live comfortably but without any real control over their lives. In We, 1924, the brilliant Russian writer Savensky Zemyatin, anticipating the excesses of the emerging Soviet Union, envisioned a world in which people were kept in check through a pervasive monitoring. The walls of their homes were made of clear glass, so everything they did could be observed. They were allowed to lower the shades an hour a day to have sex, but both the rendezvous time and the lover had to be registered first with the state. In Brave New World, 1932, the British author Aldous Huxley pictured a near-perfect society in which unhappiness and aggression had been engineered out of humanity through a combination of genetic engineering and psychological conditioning. And in a much darker novel, 1984, Huxley's compatriot George Orwell described a society in which thought itself was controlled. In Orwell's world, children were taught to use a simplified form of English called newspeak in order to assure that they could never express ideas that were too dangerous to society. These are all fictional tales, to be sure, and each of the leaders who held the power used conspicuous forms to control that at least a few people actively resisted and occasionally overcame. But in the nonfiction bestseller The Hidden Persuaders from 1957, recently released its 50th anniversary edition, the American journalist Vance Packard described in strange and rather exotic type of influence that was rapidly emerging in the United States, and that was in a more threatening than the fictional types of control pictured in the novels. According to Parkland, U.S. corporate executives and politicians were beginning to use subtle and in many cases completely undetectable methods to change people's thinking, emotions, and behavior based on insights from psychiatry and social sciences. All right, now just the other day, we've had this psychiatrist has come forward with information about how our elections and how our thoughts and everything are being manipulated by Google and the other social networks. And what did he get? What did this Hillary Clinton longtime supporter get for his efforts of bringing this information forward? This well-sourced scientific information that he had put together? Well, he got a whole load of grief from Hillary, who's out there bad-mouthing him. Why? Because this information wasn't supposed to be known. And when people who support Hillary find out about it, well, if they're not very biased, if they're willing to understand the unbiased nature that's required, then they will report it, like he did. His name's Dr. Epstein. However, when people like Hillary, who were caught red-handed and then exposed, they simply do what she did by forming some kind of threat against him and Same story, another day. Same story, another day. Threats, threats, and more threats from the Democrat Party, who wants to believe that they are the party of peace and tolerance and love. But they're not. No more than Islam is the party of the religion of peace and tolerance. And isn't it strange that you got Islam and the Democratic Party, the liberal left, all embracing each other, Antifa's thrown into that mix? Isn't it strange? Yet they all have the same ideology. It's about conquest over those who don't think the way you do. Go back and listen to yesterday's show, the end of the show, where I talked all about Islam, all about the challenges that others in the world face when dealing with the Islamic problem, because Islam is not interested in doing anything more than spreading their religious beliefs and ideology without one iota of interest in anything other than their belief. It's a jihad. It's an invasion. We have Muslim terrorists in office. Omar, Rashid, Barack Obama. And yet, clueless liberals continue on to let them in because they don't understand history. Yet they'd be the first ones to complain if someone associated with them got hurt by one of those that they allowed in. So we got to fix the problems in spite of them, because despite their stupidity and their misinformed ways of going about things, they're still American citizens. They're still our brothers and sisters, and we have to be able to find a way to bring ourselves together back in a peaceful understanding with each other. We have to quit fighting and being divided in this country. It's not doing anybody good. Here we have April Ryan's bodyguard charged with assault after forcibly removing a journalist filming her. You know April Ryan, she's the extreme racist that would be at all of the, she used to go to the White House press rooms and ask all the racist questions, and everything she has to say has to do with skin color. The one who made a big deal about freedom of press shouldn't be infringed upon, and her rights. Well, she had no problem infringing upon somebody else's freedom of the press. Had no problem whatsoever. Again, it's a do as I say, not as I do kind of attitude. So CNN's April Ryan is in some extremely hot water following charges of assault that were placed on her bodyguard for forcibly removing a journalist that was filming her. According to the Daily Wire, on August 3rd, Charlie Cravoli, a reporter with the New Brunswick Today, attended the New Jersey Parent Summit and the Heldlick Hotel. There, Ryan, who was the D.C. bureau chief for American Urban Radio Networks, delivered the keynote address. Kratovi was credentialed as a reporter, was videotaping the speech when one of Ryan's bodyguards, Joe Morris, allegedly seized the camera and forcibly ejected him from the hotel. So if you watch the video, you could see it. As a matter of fact, what you see is before he removes the journalist, April Ryan kind of gives him the go ahead and do it look, and then he did it. So she's not a good person. She's a racist, and she's just race baiting and spreading hatred. So just pointing that out. Now, Satanism and witches go mainstream. This is the problem that we're dealing with. Satanism is alive in the world, but as long as people aren't seeing it, well, then we're going to keep dealing with it. It says how normalizing works. It's you bring on board celebrities and athletes to induce it, take formerly sensitive words, use them in trendy ways, make lots of movies and TV shows highlighting the symbolism in order to future desensitize, have your top 40 pop princes and queens emphasize symbology in their videos, mock those who call attention to the darkness, threaten those who shine light in the dark practices, make it popular to the youth, build up the Church of Satan, tear down the Christian faith, and rescue unfair situations like the secret deodorant paying $520K to the U.S. women's soccer team after the wig Hovind takes out a full-page ad, be a hero. And then underneath here, you've got a whole bunch of examples of how this satanic influence is spreading itself into society. I would highly recommend you go through this page, look at it, read it, understand what's going on here. Okay, this is the true enemy, the dark forces. You can be strong minded, you can wear the armor of God, you can protect yourself from such things because the thing to be affected first and foremost is the mind. Strong mind won't get affected by this. You'll be able to stand against the devil and all of his schemes if you but protect yourself and trust the power of Jesus Christ flowing through you. Let that Christ light shine and cast away that darkness. Cast it away. All right, changing gears here. We have the Matrix is going to be doing another movie, Matrix number 4. Just says that Warner Brother Pictures and Village Roadshows will produce and globally distribute the film. Warner Brothers Picture Group Chairman Toby Emmerich made the announcement Tuesday. So we cannot be more excited to the re-entering the Matrix with Lana, said Emmerich. Lana is a true visionary, a singular, original, creative filmmaker. We are thrilled that she is writing, directing, producing the new chapter of The Matrix. So we'll see. Either they're going to apply some sort of twisted liberal spin to it and they're going to ruin the whole series, or they're going to find a way to make it good. My guess is they're going to try to spin some stupid propaganda into it, and it's just not going to be good. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'm just jaded from watching Hollywood do that to too many movies. But maybe they'll do this one right. We'll see. Sooner or later, they have to realize that the echo chamber of people that want to hear their liberal ideas do not make up the whole of society that goes to watch those movies. And if they understand that, then they'll keep the politics out of it so that they can tell a story that needs to be told without all of the nonsense that doesn't need to be in there. And finally, tiny Nevada town near secretive Area 51 braces for alien hunters. Connie West, co-owner of the alien-themed motel in the tiny U.S. desert outpost of Rachel, Nevada, believes they are coming no matter what. Not aliens, but alien hunters. A whimsical invitation on Facebook urged UFO enthusiasts to gather September 20th and storm nearby Area 51, a U.S. military base long rumored to house extraterrestrials and spaceships. More than 2 million Facebook users have planned to go. Residents of Rachel, 150-mile drive from Vegas, and home to roughly 50 people, are split on how to respond. Some sternly warned the public to stay away, fearing large crowds will overwhelm a town with no gas stations or grocery stores. Others, include West, believe the best course is to welcome them with a musical festival dubbed Alien Stock. Well, we'll see how this goes. My guess is that once they storm past the first gate, after the van, the SUV starts chasing them, the people are going to find that it's not a hop, skip, and jump to the next location, but there's going to be a large stretch of desert they're going to have to make their way through. Maybe the day after this event, we're going to hear the story that there was the largest abduction ever. Alien spaceship beams thousands to millions of people at one time. Who knows? Who knows, but we'll see how it plays out. I think a lot of people are curious to know what's going on there, but for those who have spent time studying the extraterrestrial scenario, one probably has a good understanding that the alien bodies are probably not at Area 51 anymore, but have been removed to someplace else. So we'll see. But that's it, my friends. That's the information for today. Put on the armor of God. Protect yourself. Don't be one of the weak-minded ones out there. Don't leave yourself vulnerable to the wiles and the trickiness and deceptions of the evil one. Get right with God. Stand strong with God. Understand each and every day that we have a choice. It's either our mind gets controlled or somebody else is, we're going to have our own mind. It's up to us. It's up to us. Someone controls us or we control ourselves. Best thing to do is allow God to be that inspiration that flows through us so that we can be on that right path. That's it for today. I'll be back with more news and information tomorrow. Thanks for listening. God bless. Peace. I'm out of here. FirstContactRadio.com.